Each of us has asked this question at least once in our lives. Why this particular family? Why these parents, these circumstances, this childhood, with its pain, joys, losses, injustices, or, on the contrary, incredible warmth? Is it just coincidence, biology, or is there some meaning in it? Edgar Cayce, the man known in America as the Sleeping Prophet, claimed that nothing is accidental, especially not the choice of family. According to his unique trance readings, the soul prepares a script for its new life even before birth, and in this script, the family is one of the key settings. This does not mean that we are born into perfect conditions, quite the opposite. Very often, we come into those families where challenges await us, where we will have to overcome pain, where there may be difficulties, misunderstandings, even betrayal. But Cayce explained, the soul chooses not comfort, but growth. In his numerous trance sessions, he referred to the Book of Souls, where, according to him, information about each person's previous incarnations was kept. He saw that the soul chooses its parents based on karmic experience, what needs to be lived through, worked out, healed, or completed. For example, a man who betrayed his family in a past life could be born in a new life as a child in a family where the father leaves them in order to feel the pain he once caused, not as punishment, but as a path to understanding. Or conversely, a soul that helped others in a previous life might be born into a loving family as a gift for the lessons already learned. One of the most famous cases recorded by Cayce concerned a little boy who constantly repeated that his mom isn't real. He said he was supposed to be born into another family, but something went wrong. The parents brought the child to Cayce, and he confirmed, yes, according to the original plan, the soul was meant to be born into a different family, but a change in vibrations led to a shift at the last moment. And this new family was not a mistake, but a new opportunity. Cayce believed that the soul always receives exactly the environment that matches its inner needs at its current level of development. And most often, the family is an echo of our past lives. We do not return to strangers, but to those with whom we were already connected. When we look back on our own childhood, with its traumas, resentments, unspoken words, we often ask, how could this be a soul's choice? How could the soul, something so high, pure, and spiritual, agree to be born into a family where it is unloved, betrayed, or even abused? Edgar Cayce didn't offer easy answers. He said, the soul is not a victim, it is a student. Sometimes a teacher, sometimes a debtor, but always the one who makes the choice. Even the hardest life has meaning, and even the most difficult parents are a mirror. Not punishment, but an answer to a deep question of the soul that was asked even before birth. What do I need to live through to come closer to the light? Cayce explained that father and mother are not just physical carriers of DNA. They are two souls with whom you already have karmic ties, and these knots must either be untangled or strengthened. In some cases, you are born to forgive. In others, to be supported. In others still, to teach. He also noted, the soul willingly accepts the challenge. Before incarnation, it sees the entire spectrum of possible options. One family, simpler, another, more difficult. But it chooses not the one that is comfortable, but the one that is deeper. Because only in deep waters does true strength grow. Interestingly, Cayce also pointed out, the soul doesn't just choose the family, it is drawn into the vibrations that are most native to it. If a child is born into chaos, it means that somewhere within, that chaos still lives. If into love, it means the soul attracted the love it once gave. He also drew attention to the role of the mother. According to him, the mother is the guide of the soul to earth, and the relationship with her very often points to the soul's greatest lessons. Where there is pain in the relationship with the mother, there is the deepest point of growth, because it is through maternal love, or the absence of it, that the soul learns trust, acceptance, and forgiveness. With the father, it's a little different. He represents structure, order, strength, direction. If the mother is the channel through which the soul enters, then the father is the direction it will go, And that direction is not always easy, but it is always important. Casey also said that the soul knows in which country it will be born, in which culture, on which land, and this is no accident, because the place of birth shapes the context, and the context shapes the mission. Many people find it hard to accept that their difficult childhood was chosen by their own soul, but Casey said, "The soul does not fear pain. Only the body seeks comfort, and the personality seeks validation. The soul, however, seeks experience. It does not come to rest, but to grow. And most often, the most powerful growth occurs precisely where it hurts." According to Casey, souls very often voluntarily choose to incarnate into troubled families in order to break the karmic cycle. Imagine this. Your ancestors lived in fear, in trauma, passing down pain and silence from generation to generation. And then you come, a soul that has lived before and has enough strength to stop this chain. Casey called such people carriers of transformation. They often feel from childhood that they are different, that they don't fit into the family's usual patterns. Their loved ones may not understand them, may mock their sensitivity or harshly suppress them. But it is they who become the turning point in the family's history. Through them, something new arrives. In his readings, Casey often said that souls are not only familiar with each other, but sometimes flow from role to role. Someone who was your father in a past life might be your son in this one, and your child might once have been your teacher. That is why we sometimes feel we know someone at first sight. These connections are not from this life. They are as old as the soul itself. Such connections also explain difficult relatives. Very often, the soul chooses to be born into a family where it will encounter another soul with whom it had a conflict, and this conflict must be resolved, not repeated, not avenged, but healed. It's hard. But that is how karma is completed. Imagine, you are born into a family with a harsh, cold father, but your soul has already lived through drama with him in a past life, and now you have a chance to choose differently, not to respond to aggression with aggression, not to run away, but to transform the relationship through understanding and compassion. Yes, it requires immense strength, but the soul knows it has it. Casey also said that some souls come into difficult families to support other members. In other words, not for their own growth, but to help. These are service souls. They silently carry out their mission, often sacrificing themselves, but their presence changes the atmosphere, illuminates the space, even with their love alone. In his trance readings, Edgar Casey repeatedly said, "The soul does not come into the world by accident. It has a plan, and this plan is formed even before birth." But what kind of plan is this? Who creates it? And do we really agree to everything that happens to us later? Casey explained, before the soul incarnates into a new life, it undergoes a kind of council, a meeting with higher spiritual beings he called guides. Together with them, the soul reviews its previous incarnations, analyzes its mistakes, unfinished lessons, and unresolved wounds. Then a decision is made, which family to choose, which people to cross paths with, and which challenges to face. This script is not rigidly fatal. It's a framework, a direction. We are not puppets. We have free will. But the core moments, they are chosen in advance, and the family is the first of those points. Casey called this the soul plan. It includes not only relationships, but also illnesses that may arise, talents that should be revealed, places that need to be visited, and even crises that must be endured in order to awaken. Some might ask, why choose suffering? Why go into a body knowing it will be difficult? Casey answered simply, the soul does not fear pain. It fears meaninglessness. Worse than suffering is an empty, unfulfilled life. When a soul does not fulfill what it came to do, it will have to return again and again. That is why choosing a family is such a crucial step, because it is in the family that the strongest inner programs are most often formed. A soul may choose materialistic parents in order to learn spirituality, or a mother who doesn't understand it in order to learn unconditional love. It may choose a brother who will constantly compete in order to learn not to compare itself to others. And every choice is meaningful. According to Casey, sometimes the soul even asks for a difficult experience if it wants to accelerate its growth. In his trances, he described cases where a soul chose to incarnate into bodies with disabilities or into difficult families, not as punishment, but as a path to deep awareness. He emphasized, instead of asking, "Why me?" it's better to ask, "What is this given to me for?" Because all the answers are already within the soul. One of the most striking ideas in Casey's readings is the concept of karmic knots within the family. According to him, souls often incarnate together with those they have already had close ties with in past lives. But these are not always harmonious connections. On the contrary, very often the soul returns to the same people in order to forgive what was never forgiven, heal old wounds, complete what was left unsaid, or, on the contrary, learn to let go of someone it once held onto. Casey gave an example. A man who in a past life was a cruel father might be born in the next life as the son of that same soul, but in the opposite role, to feel what he once inflicted on another, and vice versa. Those who were lovers may become brothers and sisters to learn a new form of love, without sexuality, without possession. It sounds unusual, even shocking, but this is how Casey saw these connections. No meeting within a family is accidental. Even the difficult relatives, those we cannot understand or are always in conflict with, may be the most important teachers of our soul, not to break us, but to help us find strength, depth, forgiveness, and self-respect. Sometimes it is those who hurt us the most who awaken something inside us that we would never have discovered under other circumstances. According to Casey, that is the higher purpose. He also believed that children choose their parents, not the other way around, and often not because the parents are better, but because it is through them that the soul can go through the experience it needs. For example, a child with high spiritual awareness may choose parents far from faith to teach them how to love more deeply. Or, conversely, a soul that abused power in a past life may choose to be born into a humble and oppressed family to learn the lesson of humility. Casey stated, "We are all teachers for each other, and every role in the family is a mirror in which the soul sees its true self." So, when we ask, why this family? Why these parents? The answer is, because the soul knew that here, in this place, it would grow the most. And this is not a sentence. It is a key to understanding and acceptance, to awakening. When we accept the idea that the soul consciously chooses its family, it doesn't just change our view of the past, it changes our entire life. Edgar Casey emphasized, true understanding of this truth leads a person to deep inner awakening, because the victim mentality disappears. The question, "Why was I so unlucky?" vanishes. Instead, a new question arises. What lesson am I meant to learn? This does not mean we should tolerate cruelty or endure abuse. Absolutely not. But it does mean to see meaning behind the pain, to seek not guilt, but wisdom. When a person begins to perceive their loved ones not just as mom, dad, brother, child, but as souls with their own stories, something greater than just a connection emerges: understanding, compassion, depth. Casey taught, none of us meet by accident, not even for a brief moment. But those who are in our family, they are old acquaintances, sometimes old debtors, and our relationships, they are bridges through eternity. And the moment we accept this, life changes. We begin to see the child not as a project, but as an equal soul who came not only to learn, but also to teach. We can release resentment toward our parents because we understand perhaps we ourselves asked them to be exactly the way they are so we could pass through this challenge. We are able to forgive ourselves because we see the soul's journey not as a line of mistakes, but as a line of experience. Casey said that a person can change karma if they change their consciousness, because choice always remains. We are born into a certain family, but what to do with that, how to live on, how to respond, that is our present choice. And when we begin to live with that awareness, life will never be the same again. We are no longer stuck in a script. We are co-authors. We are souls who chose each other to remember the most important thing. Love is the only force that survives all incarnations. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments. Have you ever felt that your family is more than just biology? Maybe you too intuitively knew that something from the past connects you. Leave a like. Let this video reach those who are searching for answers. And subscribe if you want to continue this path of awareness together with us, because this is just the beginning.